Hello and welcome to this episode of Microchips, and on the bench today we have this President Madison home-based radio that's been sent in for some work. It's not faulty, but the owner just wants some bits and pieces doing to it. But before we start, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, join the Facebook group, have a look at my website and all that lot. And let's get started. So, as you can see by this Madison, it does come on. It has got a frequency counter, but the frequency counter doesn't look good at all because it's not centered and it looks terrible, and it doesn't respond to the USB and LSB offsets. So what I'm saying there is that it doesn't compensate for the offsets. So when you're on 555 and go to USB, it changes to the actual frequency and not the compensated frequency, which was one of the complaints from the owner, should we say, that he wanted it to show correctly. So the radio is working, as you can see and hear there, but he's not happy with the frequency counter. Clarifier's been unlocked already. I believe it's got UK 40 on there. It's had an FM board fitted as well. But the owner just wants it making a little bit better. So let's get on to it and see what we can do. So I've taken the lid off and I'm immediately greeted with this power supply, which is the power supply for an Xbox, and probably only outputs 12 volts, not 13.8 like it should be. And we can see an FM board there. We can see a PIC chip cable tied to some of the cables. But yeah, that Xbox power supply is definitely a bit how you doing. There's our connections underneath, that's fine. That's a UK dropper, so we're going to reuse that. But luckily no cut tracks, they just remove the wires from the channel change, which is fine. So we've taken out this PIC chip, and of course somebody thinks to protect it, I know, we'll scrape the numbers off the front. Doesn't really protect it though, does it? So there's the wires from the channel change, so we just need to put those back in correctly. So after a little bit of work, I've fitted one of my 8719 boards in, cable tied it up, put a band select in the headphone socket. As you can see from there, so we've got low, mid, high in UK 40. And we've reinstated the RF gain as well, which the customer wanted, which was the original band select. So it's looking a little bit better, but he wants this addressing as well, which is definitely a bit ugly. So let's start taking it apart and get this power supply out. So we're just going to snip all the cable ties that hold it into place. I don't think it was going anywhere with that amount of cable ties. So we've got the power supply out, everything looks okay under there. We've just left some wires in that we will be reusing. So what we've done here, we've got a 10 amp power supply, and what I'm doing is I'm making a template for the screw holes on the bottom, so I can actually drill them through correctly. And as you can see, we can fit some screws directly into the studs on the bottom of the power supply. So we can do that. So I've marked out the places, we've drilled the holes like so, and there's our power supply securely mounted with some screws, some shape-proof washers and what have you. So that's going nowhere. Lovely job. So we're going to put a new mains lead on it, So what I've done is I've fitted a strain relief gland on the back. There's our mains lead, and we're going to put some ferrules on the end just to keep the wiring nice and tidy, especially with it being mains input. Need it nice and tidy. I know you're going to say there's no fuse in there, but there's a fuse in the plug and there's a fuse actually in the power supply, so I don't think we need another fuse. As you can see, strain relief gland is doing its job. It's nice and tight, cable's going nowhere. So we'll loop that over the front. So let's have a look at the main side of it. So everything's nicely screwed down, nice and secure. So we've got it powered up, and because this was a 15 volt power supply originally, all we needed to do was turn it down to 13.8. So would it been a 10 amp supply, it's more than enough. It's a good quality supply as well, so should be no problems with noise. And the customer's got a frequency counter from Mr. Mora. So what I've done is I've mounted the LEDs on a piece of perf board, and I've put the circuitry on the back, and I've covered the perf board with a bit of black Fablon. You can see that's where it connects to the VCO line, and it's all nicely held into place. We did actually need to put a bit of extra filtering on this after, because it was causing a bit of noise. As you can see, it's now nicely centered, held into place beautifully. And this does compensate for the LSB and USB. You see we're going through our bands there, no problem at all. Clarifier works. And it's sounding good.
Anyone give me a radio report, please?
So you see we're on USB, but it's still showing 555, which is nice. There's nobody on to give me a radio report to this day.
Radio report, please.
You can see we've got zeros, we've got plus 10 KC, and we've got the UK 40 as well. So jobs are good. The radio's really nice. It looks a lot better with that proper counter in as well. So overall this job took quite a while to do, but I think the end effect was absolutely fantastic. So yeah, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, all that lot. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you in the next video.